feel like
Viewer discretion is advised. The following episode of Scary Parre contains graphic descriptions, disturbing subject matter, and real-life accounts of violence, crime, and trauma. These stories may be unsettling and are not suitable for children or viewers who are sensitive to graphic content. The content presented is for educational and discussion purposes only. We do not glorify violence, nor do we intend to exploit the victims involved. Listener discretion is strongly advised. If you choose to continue, brace yourself.
good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the Scary Parre Podcast, where we talk about the dark, the disturbing, and the downright what in the world is going on stories that make you question reality. Now, listen, tonight's episode, yeah, this one just isn't spooky. This one is real life horror. We're diving into the story of a man who didn't need ghosts, he didn't need demons, because he became one for his own people. I'm talking about none other than Warren Jeffs. So, viewer discretion is advised because this story involves manipulation, control, abuse, and the kind of power that should have never been given to one man. Let's go ahead and dive on in. Welcome to Scary Parre. Before we even get into Warren Jeffs, we got to understand the world he came from. So, boom, there's a group called the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, also known as the FLDS. Now, don't get it twisted. This is not the same as mainstream Mormonism. This is a breakaway group that still practices polygamy, meaning one man, multiple wives, and in this case, sometimes dozens of wives. Now, because apparently one relationship wasn't stressful enough, he had to go get close to 17 of them. But in FLDS, this wasn't about love. This was about control. Women were taught to obey. Children were raised to never question authority. And the leader, he wasn't just a pastor. He was considered a prophet. Well, at least that's what he considered himself. Meaning whatever he said was basically God talking. And that right there, that's where things get dangerous. So let's enter into Warren Jeffs a little more. Warren Jeffs wasn't always the big boss. That title belonged to his father, Rulon Jeffs. Rulon had a lot of wives, and we're talking dozens of wives. And Warren, he was just one of many children based in a world where obedience was everything. But when Rulon died in 2002, Warren stepped up. And baby, when I tell you things went from strict to straight up terrifying, like 0 to 60. You know how some bosses come in and change a few policies? Warren came in and was like, yeah, we changing everything. Everything's getting, we switching, changing, rearranging around here. We're changing everything. And also, he had to mention, he said, I'm God now. That's me. That's my position. That's me. I'm him. I'm him-athy. I'm God-athy. I'm him. That's what Warren Jeffs was saying. So what he did was he took full control of the FLDS. He became the sole decision maker, controlled marriages, controlled families, controlled who could even talk to. He started reassigning wives like they were job positions. So put your imagination caps on for a second. Imagine being told, yeah, your husband, not yours anymore, mine. God said he belongs to somebody else now. Ladies, what y'all doing? Imagine being told, yeah, your husband's not yours anymore. God said he belongs to somebody else. What? That's not religion. That's ownership. That's crazy work. So sorry, bit my tongue. Ow. This is where it gets heavy. Warren Jeffs didn't just control adults. He targeted children as well. He arranged marriages between underage girls and older men, including himself. Now, we're not just talking like teenage girls, like 16 and above. No, we're talking girls as young as 12, 13, 14. And the scariest part is they were raised to believe that this was normal, that that was what God wanted, that that was what was in God's will. And he used fear like a weapon. If you disobeyed, you were excommunicated, cut off from cut off from your family, your community, your entire life. Imagine losing everyone you've ever known just for asking questions. Get out of here. Get out of here. That has to be scary as a community, or as someone a part of a community, as what you're thinking is a part of a family, but you're realizing there's some flaws in the family, so you're realizing something isn't right. And you start to ask questions, and because you start to ask questions, you get excommunicated from all that you've ever known. Like, think about those kids that grew up in FLDS, right? Especially some of those men. Like, from my research, from what I've done and some of the documentaries I've watched as well, Warren Jeffs had got to the point where he was kicking the younger men out of the cult. He was kicking them out, some of them as young as 8 years old, kicking them out with no one. What? I don't know about you, but that's crazy work to me. So, sorry that I got some dogs that are, it seemed like they're having a fight back there. So, here's a real moment. You can't even say something feels wrong without your whole life getting deleted. That's not faith. That's dictatorship with the Bible. So eventually, the outside world caught on. Authorities started investigating, survivors started speaking out, and in 2006, Warren Jeffs was officially on the FBI's most wanted list, right? Yeah. When you make that list, is it's not giving man of God, it's giving run immediately. I think personally, now hear me out. Personally, if my cult leader was on America's FBI's most wanted list, I probably wouldn't be a part of that cult anymore. But then we also have to take into account that the people who were a part of that cult were born and raised in that cult. That's all they had known. So for that to be a thing, for your cult leader, the person that you call a prophet, the person that you feel like is your messiah, to be on the FBI's most wanted list. And then think about it like this. Could it have been a David Koresh thing too, where David Koresh was telling his followers, the FBI is coming to get us. They do not want us to succeed. They're going to be knocking at the door. And he's prophesizing all of this. He's telling them, I'm the second coming of Jesus. This is all going to happen. And it happened. So it made them believe more. Could Warren Jeff had told his following, the police don't like us here. They don't like what I do. They don't agree with our principles. So because of that, they're going to target me more. And because he said that, is that a thing? I don't know. I don't know. Eventually, the outside world caught on, right? Okay. Authorities started investigating. survivors started speaking out. That's what happened. He was finally arrested, tried, and convicted in 2011. Oh, we got a comment. Let's see. Warren Jeff said he didn't let them watch, or Warren Jeff said, Terry, host of the show, said he didn't let them watch the news, TV, or social media. So it was easy for him to say it's all a lie. Yes, we got to also take that into account as well. We have to take that into account that Warren Jeffs did not allow his following, the members of his cult to have any access to the outside world. Everything was cut off from him. Cut off from them. Everything. I'm so sorry. If you guys can hear what's going on the other side of that, I truly apologize for that. I'm not sure what my neighbor's dog is out there doing. It sounds like he's fighting for his life, but good God. Prayers to the dog. So he was finally arrested. He was tried and convicted in 2011 for crimes involving minors. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 20 years. But even behind bars, he still tried to control his followers. There was clips from my research, guys. So hear me out. There was clips of the prison visits where they were still having service. They were still having church. A few of the followers were a part of or going to the prison to see him. They were going to the prison and they were having church. They were having song service, and he was still telling them, I'm still your prophet. I'm still your God. This is the destiny that is aligned for us. I'm still hearing from God. He was telling those ladies, I'm still hearing from God, and he's telling me to still be your God, still be your prophet. What? So here's my thing. Now hear me out. I don't know if I would be okay with the fact that somebody who's telling me that they are God and my God sitting behind a prison cell for something that they had no business doing. But that's just me. But then again, I have to keep in account that these people were born and raised. Some of these people were born and raised to believe that that was that. Yes, he was still giving them classes in jail, and the classes that he were giving them was their doctrine, their beliefs, their spiritual system. This is how you please your husband. This is how you please the family. This is what you do as a woman. And during those visits, it's only been a few visits that I've seen where there was another man at those visits. Most of those visits were women who were visiting him. So let's go ahead and let's get to segment 5, because we have 2 other cults that we have to talk about to wrap up our series today. So how does this even happen? Now here's the real question. How does one man get that much power? I'll tell you how. Now I'm gonna tell you how, but that don't mean that you take what I tell you and try to do and hey now, hey. But this is how one man gets that much power. He isolates the cult or his following from the world. And then he blinds obedience and teaches it from birth. So you isolate and then you teach obedience. So if this is an adult, if you're working with an adult, you isolate that adult, you beat or teach obedience into them. The third one was fear of punishment. The fourth one was religion was used as a tool for control. When you grow up being told someone is speaking for God and from God, you don't question them. You just trust them. And that's exactly what They did. If you, like I keep stressing, a lot of people's concern is why do people who are in cults don't snap and just leave? Like, what's holding them there? Well, in this particular cult, a lot of these people were born and bred to believe that that was what it was supposed to be. That is all they knew. When you don't know anything different, it is hard. It is hard. I cannot stress that enough. Someone from the outside world has to infiltrate in to show you different. And in most cases, the FLDS does not let an outsider into their community. So it's like, how do you go in and help that? You see what I'm saying? In a sense, are you picking up what I'm putting down? Respect. So here are some thought-provoking questions for my audience. I want you guys to join in. TikTok, I want you guys to answer the questions too if you like. Join in. Let me know what you're thinking. At what point does faith turn into control? At what point do you think faith turns into control? That's one question. If you just want to write that down for later, feel free. The next question is, do you think you would have questioned him, or do you think you would have followed him? Do you think you would have questioned him, or do you think you would have followed Warren Jeffs? I think personally, just because of the person that I am, I think when I became, even though it was born, or even though it was bred into some of the children, I think when some of them became of age, and when I say of age, I'm talking like 16, 17, 18, they started to put two and two together, and they started to realize something is not right. This hair is crawling on my face. Something is not right with what we got going on. And so they started questioning. They were confused. They didn't know. So when they started questioning, they got kicked out. I honestly think I would have been one of those kids that got kicked out because listen, what you mean I got to marry Billy Bob and he's 62 and I'm his 42 wife? I ain't nobody's 42. I'm number 1, but I ain't nobody 42. So it's like when we do when that starts to happen, when that starts to happen and they start to question, like I said, they get kicked out. They get kicked out. So personally, back to the original question, do you think you would have questioned him or followed him? I would have questioned him, but it would have so hear me out. It also would have taken me a while to question him. And here's the reason why. If all of my family is in this cult, this is all I know. I have nobody else outside of here. Where am I to go? I don't even know how to work the outside world. And at this point, the FLDS, they don't have really electronics and all that. Well, back then, a few years prior to him being arrested, they didn't have all of that. So it's like, okay, I don't have all of that. I go to the outside world. How am I going to survive? How am I going to live? How am I going to make it for myself? And then I go out there and I really see that there is a world that where more money is being spent. I have to I have to pay more. Like, come on now. White Coat Droop said, if you are being taught what to think versus how to think, that is a red flag. Yes. Yes. And a lot of these people, like I said, sorry, in the FLDS cult, they were born and bred into thinking that this was okay because this is what they were taught to think. So when you get those one-off children who develop how to think because they're realizing that's not right. They're hearing the cries of their siblings that are being married off to these older men and being, having that happen to them. Hey, Jay. And it's one of those things where it's just like, it's not okay. So let's go ahead. And then, last question I have with Warren Jeff. Could this happen today, just in a different form? What do you guys think? Could this happen today, but just in a different form? Yes, no, maybe. Well, to segue that, hang on, I got to change the backdrop. I got to change the backdrop. Changing the backdrop, changing the backdrop. We are going to talk about, I wish I could take me off. I wish I could figure out how to take me off without it. Okay. We are getting ready to dive into the twin flame cult versus nature boy cult. So, and then shout out to my TikTok family. Thank you guys for sending the gifts. Thank you guys for the likes. I definitely appreciate that. I really, really, really appreciate y'all doing that. We are getting ready to talk about twin flame cult versus nature boy cult. Love, lies, and spiritual manipulation. So, if you guys have ever, I don't know if you guys have, I just recently dove into the Twin Flames documentary on Netflix. The Twin Flame universe is a spiritual online community created by Jeff Ian and Shayla Devine. The core idea is they teach that everyone has a twin flame, your one true divine soulmate. It sounds pretty sweet, pretty romantic, right? Pretty easy, right? But here's the twist. They claim your twin flame is guaranteed. You can manifest them. And if someone rejects you, they are still your twin flame. Here's where it gets dark. Instead of a healthy love, things turn controlling. They use manipulation tactics. Members are told to chase people who clearly don't want them. For example, in the documentary, one of the members was charged with stalking her ex. She was told that that was her twin flame. When she told the cult leader, which is Jeff Ian and Shayla Devine, when she told them, Jeff was like, well, are you not trying hard enough? You beat down his block and you tell that man that you my twin flame, you everything that I'm supposed to be and I'm forever yours. And she was doing that. He's like, well, why aren't you trying hard enough? Why aren't you trying hard enough? She was stalking that man. She was stalking that man. Now, this is where, to me, it gets a little wild. And this is where I had like the most problem trying to understand this, because unlike the FLDS cult, these adults weren't born and bred in this cult. These were people that were looking for love and were listening to a couple who was not really in love, but putting on a show of being a twin flame for one another. They were listening to a couple, primarily the man, tell them what to think, what to do, and tell them that their love was out there and assign them to a twin flame. Example. Let's say you sign up for his class, right? He screens you, he's talking to you. During your counsel sessions with a group of people, you tell him, oh, I ran into a old friend at the grocery store the other day. We exchanged numbers, we said hi. He immediately goes, you know what? I think you found your twin flame. Go pursue, go pursue. You go pursue, you get rejected. You tell him, I got rejected. His first response was, he's just not, what do you say? You're not spiritually aligned yet. All right. I'm not, what? Okay. What? So I just told you I met a man at the grocery store. All I know is that his first name is Jack. We exchange numbers. That's immediately my twin flame. I don't even know if we have anything in common. But according to Jeff Ian, that was your twin flame. So when you go back to the next class session and you tell him, well, I texted him, he didn't text back, or I tried to set up a date, he stood me up. You're telling him all this, and he's still saying, you better go pursue that man. Y'all just not spiritually aligned just yet. Or you better go pursue that girl. Y'all just not spiritually aligned yet. Okay. So the next time you talk to them, right, he was turning women into stalkers. So the next time you go to class, you tell him, hey, I went out dancing and I saw the same guy who rejected me and I pursued again and he rejected me again. The first thing he's saying is, what are you doing wrong? Why did you stop? You are supposed to keep going. What? I'm still getting rejected. Why am I still keep going? He is pressuring members, and these members, like I said, these members were at a lonely place in their life to where they feel like they had to reach out to a third party to help them find love, to help them find a stable love. They were spending thousands on coaching and they were staying loyal to the group no matter what. They were staying loyal to the point where they were cutting off friends and cutting off family. And some members were even told to change their gender identity, accept relationships that they didn't want, and stay in emotionally harmful situations. Now, there was a couple on the documentary, they were actually dating for a while, and they were a part of this program. And because they were a part of this program, and Jeff told them that they were each other's twin flame, they actually hated each other. They did not like each other at all. Like I'm talking, they did like it couldn't have been any different, night and day. Like their opposites didn't attract. They didn't want one another. But because Jeff had manipulated them into thinking that they were each other's twin flame, and that was it, man, listen. Man, listen. I don't want to spoil it too much for y'all. I want y'all to go and I want y'all to watch Twin Flame. It's on Netflix. Dude was a real life criminal. He was a real life criminal and he needs to the crazy work. So before we go to the Nature Boy cult, because that's a crazy or that's a different one too, and it's a modern day cult. It just happened within the past few years. Before we go there, let's take into a real life impact on the twin flame one. This isn't just online talk. It has real consequences. People reported stalking charges from being told to pursue their twin flame. They had emotional breakdowns from constraint from I'm sorry, going too fast. They had emotional breakdowns from constant rejection and blame. Then they had financial exploitation through expensive classes. These classes weren't cheap. These people were spending all of their money, life savings on expecting to find their twin flame and being told to go stalk somebody. And they were following this man, they were taking his word as Bible. And then he had got to the point where he was telling people at first, when the cult originally started, or when the classes originally started, the couples, the twin flame couples, were one male, one female. And if you were homosexual, that was wrong. Then he later evolved it and said, okay, well, your twin flame is actually a female. And then he decided to characterize it as, I believe he said divine masculine in the relationship and divine feminine. So you could be in a relationship, male and female, and he would tell you as a male, you would be a divine feminine or a divine masculine. And then you could be in a relationship, female to female. I'm sorry, the first example I meant, you could be in a relationship male to male, and he would tell you which one was the divine masculine and which one was the divine feminine. And then you could be in a relationship female to female, and he would be saying, okay, of the two of you, you are the divine masculine and you are the divine feminine one. Crazy work. And these people were eating it up. I mean, they were eating it up. They were eating it up. Well, let me be clear. Some of them were eating it up. Some of them were like, I'm not that. This ain't that. I don't like girls. This ain't that. This ain't that. Crazy work, crazy work. So if you haven't, I want you guys to go ahead and dive into what is called the Twin Flames documentary. It is on Netflix. Before we go into our final part where we're wrapping up this cult series, let me go ahead and we're going to do some paratisements where we're talking about some events that are happening in the Kansas City area, and we shout out our sponsors and everything like that. So shout out to our sponsor, Knucklehead Clothing. You can get your Knucklehead clothing at www.knuckleheadclothing.com. Again, that's www.knuckleheadclothing.com. Next up, the Perry T Management. The Perry T Management family is accepting new clients for podcast management, artist management, brand ambassadoring, and virtual personal assisting. If you would like to set up a consultation, please DM me. This is for serious inquiries only. I cannot stress that enough. Serious inquiries only. When you're ready, go ahead and hit me up. I am accepting new clients. Speaking of clients, I want you guys to meet Milani Yvette, aka Lonnie Vans. She is a brand ambassador, social media influencer, event host, and podcaster. You can book Lonnie Vans to host your event or to be a brand ambassador for your brand. She's here to elevate and bring the best to it. You can also book Trinae, aka Big Nay, of the Popular Ignorance Podcast. She is also a brand ambassador and event host, and for book her for your next event. She'll make your event unforgettable. She brings joy, charisma, professionalism, of course, because you don't get anything less with Perry T Management. So to book her, you can reach out to me for your next event. Now, my favorite event is happening and I can't wait. It is this Friday, R&B night, hosted by Cut Nasty, aka the Get It Off Your Chest podcast. Look at those guys on that flyer. They look good. Anyway, R&B night number 10, and this time they are singing to the mothers. This is Mother's Day edition. May 8th at 9:30 p.m. It will be streaming live on Facebook. We will be at BLE Studios. Ladies, if you're trying to be in the building, because of course they're singing to the mothers, you can reach out to CJ or Terry, host of the show of the Get It Off Your Chest podcast, and they will let you know the details of how you can be in the building to get serenaded by Cut Nasty. And Battle of the Food Vendors is Saturday, May 9th at the Royal Mansion from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. The Royal Mansion is 6240 Raytown Traffic Way, Raytown, Missouri 64133. Bring the monies, come spend it. If you can't come from 1 to 6, that's okay. Come on your lunch break. Get you some food, spread that bread, and leave. Plenty of different options. Come on out. And it is hosted by the Get It Off Your Chest podcast and certified Redbone. And I hear she's thick, 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 thick. So come on out and let's have a great, great time. And then lastly, actually, no, that's not anything. So we're done. Okay, are y'all ready to jump back in? We are jumping back into our conversation that we were having. At the beginning of the show, if you are just now tuning in, we talked about Warren Jeff and how he was the leader of the FLDS cult. Then we jumped into talking about the Twin Flames cult, that the Twin Flames documentary. That cult was led by Jeff Ian and Shayla Devine, basically teaching people that their twin flame is their forever twin flame. A lot going on with that. So if you haven't seen that documentary yet, head on over to Netflix to watch it. Lastly, we're getting ready to wrap this up with the Nature Boy cult, led by Nature Boy, aka Melvin Noble Jr., also known as Nature Boy. The core idea that Nature Boy preached was society is fake, the government is a lie, true enlightenment comes from living in nature. He built a group called Carbon Nation, mostly online at first. Then he encouraged members to move with him to places like tropical islands and remote communities. These people were I'm talking nationwide with this. They were going to islands, all that stuff, Belize, all of that. They lived off grid, following his rules only. Here's where it gets dark. Former members say he controlled who people dated. Women were pressured into sexual relationships, and members faced emotional abuse, public humiliation, isolation from family. Everything was live streamed. So here's the difference from the FLDS, from the Twin Flame cult to this one here. Everything was live streamed. From the services, from the motivational talks to the abuse. This was more of a social media cult geared to the modern day technology, the modern day group of people to get more followers. Originally, his message, from my research and from me watching that documentary, originally his message was similar, I guess, in a sense, to the Hebrew Israelite message. We are black kings, we are black queens. We don't all come from slavery. We come from more than that. That was his original message. It was pure. It was what he thought. Yes, sure. But after a while, it seemed like because he was on live with it, the clout got to him. He became more, or thought he was more than what he was, which then caused public humiliation. Followers were able to watch in real time of the abuse, the mental abuse, the disrespect that he was giving the followers of the cult. He used social media to recruit members, control narratives, and shame people publicly. Because he used social media to do all of this, the people who were on the outside looking in the lives were calling the police. Hey, this is going on. I'm watching the Nature Boy cult or whatever. I think these people are in a cult. They're fighting on live. He just smacked a girl, like I'm talking smacked her, backhanded her all in her face. He got the girls in the cult fighting one another all on live. So these people who are watching this are calling the police. So Nature Boy had some arrests. He had some accusations of abuse and investigations all tied to his group. So the question for this, because these people had modern day knowledge, they had modern day technology. The question is, what psychological hold did he have on these people? Well, I did some research, and this is what I came up with. He positioned himself as a spiritual guru, a chosen being, the only source of truth, which made his followers depend on him for everything. A lot of his followers were easily impressionable, and they were young. I'm not talking like young teenager young. I'm talking fresh out of high school, 18, 19 young, still trying to find their way and find their path and find where they belong. And they felt like that his spiritual beliefs were aligned with theirs. So, my question for you guys is, when does spiritual freedom turn into control and exploitation? Good question, right? Thanks, Carlos. Good question, right? Right. So, what I did, I took the time, because we're getting ready to wrap up here. I'm getting ready to give you guys the bigger picture, the comparison of both. So, we're going to compare the Twin Flame cult with the Nature Boy cult. Let me put my little diagram up there. And then after that, we're going to be heading out for the night. Let's see here. Okay, so let's take a look at this diagram here. We got the Twin Flame cult versus the Nature Boy cult. And TikTok, if you guys would like to see this diagram, you can head on over to the Scary Parre podcast page on YouTube, and you'll be able to see it. Okay, so the Twin Flame cult versus the Nature Boy cult. With the Twin Flame cult, it focuses on love and soulmates. With the Nature Boy cult, the focus is spiritual enlightenment. The Twin Flame, they used an online coaching system. And Nature Boy used social media plus a physical community. Now, the twin flame cult, they only used emotional manipulation. They played on the heartstrings of people who were lonely, who had the desire to find love. Nature Boy played on people's emotional and used played on emotional manipulation, and he also used physical control as well. Thanks, Carlos. He also used physical control as well. He beat his followers into submission. Twin Flame used financial exploitation. They charge members enormous rate. I can't talk. Enormous rates for their classes. Nature Boy used lifestyle and identity to control. He brought these people down to ground zero to control them. And then the last comparison I'm going to do, the twin flame cult focused on forced relationships. It forced relationships or told people to force relationships with people who clearly did not want them at all. Did not want them. Nature Boy controlled the relationships. He told them, you can date that person, you can date this person, but all of y'all, all of the women are definitely going to date me. So, here's the key things that I want you guys to take away from this. There's a thing of love versus obsession that was found in the twin flames. Spirituality versus control. If you get to a point in your walk of faith where you feel like you're being controlled, step away if you can. Healing versus manipulation. Some people know that you are in your healing era. A cult leader can identify that. So then they're going to be preaching and pouring into you what you're missing to manipulate you to think with them, to be able to think for you. Let's go ahead and we're getting ready to close this out. Not everything that looks like love is love. And not everything labeled spiritual is safe. Sometimes the most dangerous thing isn't evil. It's something that feels right. So, I want to thank all of you guys on all the platforms for listening to this episode of Scary Parre. We are officially done with our high profile cult leader series. I want you guys to continue to tune in. We got something special coming for you as well. Now, it's not just going to be me. My co host Mila will be back soon. But thank you again for tuning in tonight. I thank you guys for the comments. TikTok, I thank you guys for the gifts, the likes, being involved. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And until next time, you guys have a wonderful, wonderful night. Bye.